Hello everybody, and we are back at it with another the do-over episode on BookTok Audiobooks, and I feel like I have some explaining to do as to why I haven't posted, I think, in like a month, in like 3 to 4 weeks, and so, yeah, like, I got comments basically on my YouTube channel basically saying like, hey, like, when's chapter 16 gonna be out? Like, we need chapter 16, and I literally was like, I'm working on it, it's in the editing stage. Like, I tried to reassure so many people, I'm like, guys, it's on its way, I promise, and the truth is that it was on its way, and then I had exported it, and I thought, so my storage is like really, really full, and I thought I had exported it, and because my storage was really full, it kept saying error, and so I was just like, okay, you know what, like, let me just, delete the little like clips of, let me delete the recording because I had already edited it, and if I can export the edited version, then I don't need the original. So I deleted the original, and then I thought I had exported the edited version, but I guess deleting the original was not enough storage space it didn't free up enough storage, and so I ended up permanently deleting the actual original, and to this day, the revamped is still having trouble uploading and exporting. So here I am re-recording, and I am using an app to where I can just, it's not my normal recording app, but it's an app where I can edit as I'm recording and then save that way, and then I can upload this directly. And why am I explaining all this? Well, it's just because to sum it up, I have had technical difficulties, and I just wanted to explain what those were and not try to be so vague and dry about a disappearance like that. I disappeared on you guys for weeks, and the reasoning is that not only did I have technical difficulties, but I was also traveling. And when I'm traveling, I'm like, how am I gonna record an episode? Like, am I gonna record an episode? And it was a lot to manage, and I was like recording in every place that I could, but then there was also a lot of background noise in every little place that I could, and I was just like, you know what, this is not worth it. I will have to record when I am back at my home, my original state of life. And so that's why everything just came out so late, and I really do genuinely apologize. And I honestly did not think I would have people asking for chapter 16. No offense, but I mean, no offense to myself, really. I just don't think people listen to my stuff and, all that jazz. So when I get comments or when I get like feedback, I'm always like, oh, like, people do care. There's proof of listeners, and they genuinely do care about when the next episode's gonna come out, and it warms my heart. So it's always a good feeling getting comments. But anyways, the reasoning as to why you all are here listening is for the long-awaited chapter 16. So I think this is a long chapter. So yeah, I hate to break it up, but I might have to. I'm scrolling through the pages right now, and it's over 10, which y'all know what that means. That's our limit. Okay, it's 13. I might be able to do it. Okay, I might be able to do it. We'll see. We shall see. Okay, anyway, I have a lot of energy, so, who knows. Okay, confession 16. When I was little, and my mother made me apologize, I suddenly added ... though I am really not, to the end of every single apology. So that's why you don't date. I stopped chewing my pizza and gave Nick the most screwed up face I could come up with. You don't have time for it? It was starting to get dark outside, so Nick and I wandered into Sue's Pizza for a few slices to fill our bellies and warm us up. After hanging out on the rooftop, we'd ridden scooters to the Jocelyn Museum. Nick still had Eric's admin code from his brief stint working as a scooter jockey, so he'd been able to override the Bluetooth so we could leave the zone, where he taught me 5 things I never knew about Van Gogh as we explored the art museum. Some people theorize that the artist, Gauguin, was actually the one who cut Van Gogh's ear, and it wasn't self-inflicted at all. Van Gogh's painted a portrait of himself with a bandaged ear after the cutting. He only sold 1 painting in his lifetime. He shot himself in the chest in a field where he was painting, but managed to walk back to his house afterward and didn't die until 2 days later. His last words were, "The sadness will last forever." I might have been depressed, because that was widely depressing information. But then Nick taught me 2 more things about Van Gogh that were obviously untrue and made me feel much better. His friends actually called him Van, and when he stuck around too long and became annoying, they tormented him with the cries of, "Van Gogh!" The woman who had seen Van Gogh's ear sold it on eBay and made so much money that she started looping off her own body parts and selling them. One of her toes went for $1 million, so she lived happily ever after and named all 7 of her sons Vinny. After that, we ditched the scooters and rented bikes, which we rode over snowbanks, very difficult, and through slushy puddles, very messy, until we reached the big slides in the park. Nick, with the great idea, ran into a convenience store and brought wax paper to slide upon, so we shot down the slides so fast that our only option had been to get big air and then land in a huge drift of snow, while, of course, screaming at the top of our lungs. After that, we fed bird seed to the ducks. Nick had purchased that as well until our toes were too frozen to do anything outside. I was a little afraid that after sitting in the heated pizzeria for well over an hour, we were going to freeze to death when we finally had to leave. Don't say it like that, it's smart. He picked up his soda with one hand and pointed at me with the other. I don't have time for all that emotional stuff a person has to put out in order to make another person happy. I'd be worse if I dated people and then just made them mad by being a cold, distant person, wouldn't it? That did not make any sense. I am substituting for curse words, so if that didn't make sense, I'm sorry. I rolled my eyes and set down my pizza. There's a backward logic to what you're saying, I suppose, but I really think you're overestimating the actual number of minutes required to emote your feelings properly. A text that says, "I love the sound of your laugh," takes like 15 seconds to send, and it'd mean everything to someone who really cared about you. He said, "You're being obtuse on purpose." No, you're being obtuse on purpose. Your excuses are vague and overgeneralized and quite frankly pathetic. So I'm pathetic now. His face was serious and intense, and I was infatuated with the way he teased. I nodded, little bit. "Give me your crust now." He reached over and grabbed my crust. I was on my 3rd slice of pizza, and we'd already established that my least favorite part was his favorite, making him my cleanup crew. He lifted it towards his mouth and asked, "Is it so wrong that I like being single?" "It's not, but you don't." He took a bite of his crust and said, "How do you know?" "Because I know." I wasn't being delusional, convincing myself of what I wanted to believe. I wasn't even talking about me in the scenario, to be honest. I was absolutely just talking about him. Nick Stark was warm and funny and caring, and his face lit up when he was with his friends and remembering his brother. The Nick he was forcing himself to be at school, tough, distant, because he couldn't work up the strength to take on any additional emotional lifting, was work for him. I think he truly believed that happiness was elusive and fluid because of what happened to Eric. And instead of reaching for it and risking being shattered, he was just no longer interested in reaching for love or even for friendship. "Well, let me ask you this then," he said, grabbing a napkin from the dispenser, wiping his hands. "If you know, how come you thought you were madly in love with someone this morning, and now you forgot he existed?" "Let's not talk about that." I said in a teasing voice, but I really didn't want to talk about it. I was way more interested in Nick. How about we move on? Okay, but, he narrowed his eyes, first tell me the thing he does that works on your last nerve. Oh my lord, I laughed. It has to be his ringtones. Please explain. I lifted my cup and poured an ice cube into my mouth before saying, he still thinks ringtones are hilarious. You know, like we all did in middle school. He actually takes the time to save a different one for every single person he knows, and he finds it funny to sneak into my phone and add them when I'm not paying attention. He gets in your phone? He shook his head. I don't care about that. I have nothing to hide, but he assigned a neighing horse to his name in my contacts. He thinks it's hilarious that every time he texts, I hear the sound of a stallion. What a tool, Nick said. Nick looked a little jealous, and I wanted him to be. I said, the funny thing is that it just bugs me. The sound of a horse makes me want to throw my phone through a window. I bet. But he thought he was being nice by adding it for me. I grinned and said, he beams every time he hears that stupid whiny. So you pretend to love it? He asked. I just nodded, which made him make a face and shake his head like I was pathetic. Can we stop talking about relationships now? He pushed his plate and cup into the center of the table before checking his phone. We should probably head back to the truck, actually. After we bundled back up and went outside, Nick gave me another piggyback ride. I couldn't stop laughing as he decided it would be funny to loudly hum our theme song, which sounded a lot like the... Okay, even though he denied it. My stomach hurt from laughing as I snuggled my face deep into the side of his neck for body heat. Jesus, your nose is cold, he said, sounding like his teeth were close to chattering. Sorry, I said, but I wasn't. I was full and let my face absorb in his warmth. He coughed at a briefly laugh. I'm not complaining. I realized that Nick was incredible. He was fun and beautiful, and I'd never felt more comfortable around a boy. Like, ever, except for Chris. Weird, right? Because this no-holds-barred that I was being on the DONC wasn't me at all. So my lovesick muzzings didn't even make sense. The real Emily Hornby would never get this close to someone she barely knew before today. So this person he was seeing wasn't actually real at all, right? Or was it this actually maybe sort of me? As we walked by an apartment with the blinds wide open, we saw it at the same time. On the TV in the stranger's living room, Rose and Jack were standing on the deck, watching steerage passengers kick around a ball of ice that had fallen from the iceberg that the ship had hit. Titanic was playing. Nick didn't believe in fate, and neither did I, but how weird was it that Titanic was playing the exact moment we were walking by? Wow, you were right, Hornby, he said sarcastically, stopping in front of the window. Playing soccer with iceberg chunks? That's obviously the best movie ever. You're a goal, Stark, I replied, climbing off his back. An absolute goal. We stood there for a minute, just watching the movie in the window, and when I glanced over at him, I was terrified at the thought of going home, of ending the day. He'd agreed to take me to my dad's when we were done, so I could sneak in and grab a key to my grandma's house, wherein he could make fun of the boy band posters that he knew adored in my bedroom walls. And then he was going to drop me at her place, where I could sleep in peace with no parental third degree. But he wasn't going to remember it. Not any of it. The day had been unbelievably wonderful, yet when I woke up tomorrow morning, it wouldn't have existed for anyone but me. For some reason, I had to clear my throat and blink fast to recover from the emotion that came with the realization. He looked over at me. You okay? I tried to sound light as I said, I don't want the DONC to end. Nicholas Stark. Same. He stepped closer so his face was all I could see, and his voice went deeper and quieter. And I've thought about it, and I really want my DONC to include kissing you, Em. You do? My voice was embarrassingly breathy. Yes. He put his hands on my waist, one on each side, and leaned even closer. I could feel a hint of his breath in my ear as he said, but I don't want to if you're still tied up about Sutton. My voice barely had the sound when I said, I meant to. When I said I forgot that he existed. So it's okay then? On a normal day, I probably would have given him a shaky okay, or maybe even a yes please. But it was the D-O-N-C, the second half of the D-O-N-C to be exact. I nodded in one move, lifted onto my tippy toes, put my hands on his chest, and my mouth was on his. His lips were warm, and he kissed me like he had been dying to kiss me for his whole life. My fingers curled on the soft fabric of his jacket as he opened my mouth with his, making me a little dizzy while he wrapped his arms all the way around my waist and pulled me closer. Just like that, I could feel every inch of his body against mine, knees to chest to lips, and it made me weak as I slid up my hands and grabbed onto his shoulders for support. It was heady stuff being kissed by Nick Stark. He kissed me like he was trying to prove something. Everything disappeared except the feel of his subtle against my skin. His fingers flexing on my back. He finally lifted his head and pushed a piece of hair behind my ear. I felt almost shy as we looked at each other. I ran my tongue over the bottom of my lip and said, "Don't you think it's weird that before today that we didn't really know each other? Now it feels like we've known each other for years?" I nodded. Yes, I mean, it's kind of bizarre, for sure. His eyes moved over my face, and I could feel the vibration of his voice in his chest, against my chest, when he said, "I didn't know you this morning, and now I feel of your hand in mine, the sound of your voice when trying not to cry, and the taste of your mouth. I know that you hate potato salad and love that video with that cat that dings the diner bell." I grinned, feeling swept off by my feet and his words. I said, "Now I know that the scar above your eyebrow was from the time Eric chased you into a heating vent. I know that you scream obscenities when a cool girl is beating you in a scooter race, and I know that you kiss with teeth, in a good way." His lips turned up. "It's really only been one day? It's hard to believe." I was happy he hadn't stepped back. I liked being held there in his arms. I grinned up at him and I said, "I have a confession, by the way." "Let me guess, you cheated? You had those answers written on your hand?" I held up my hands. "Nope." Then, I have to confess that I think I'm obsessed with you. With this," I swallowed, and said, "with us." A crease formed between his eyebrows. "Emily." "Oh my gosh, don't ruin it, Stark. I don't care about anything but today, okay?" I rolled my eyes and poked him in the chest. "I'm talking about being obsessed with us on the D-O-N-C. I'm talking about being obsessed with the day we just had. I don't care about the future, so quit looking like that." I leaned my face closer like I was going in for another kiss, but I reached into his coat pocket instead and wrapped my hand around his gaze. He groaned, and the sound of his disappointment made me feel victorious. "Looks like Emily's driving home." I pulled them out and held his keys over my head, giving them a quick shake before I turned and started running in the direction of the lot where we left Betty. "Give me the keys, Hornby," he said calmly, following me, still leisurely walking. I looked over my shoulder as I jogged. "I don't think so. I'm going to cruise in, Betty, and you're going to ride." His eyebrows went up, and he said, around a laugh, "You better give me the keys." "These?" I started giggling and jiggled them again. "You want these keys?" His face broke into a grin, and he said, "That's it." I screamed and started running faster, and I could hear him sprinting behind me. "You're gonna regret this." "I don't think so." He caught me, wrapping his arms tightly around my body and lifting me off the ground. I screamed, and then I screamed again when he lowered his shoulder, lifted me higher, and threw me over his shoulder. "Nick!" I couldn't stop laughing. "Put me down!" He easily got the keys from my hand, and then he swatted my backside. "I don't think so." "Come on," I cried, laughing hysterically, as we walked by an older couple taking their dog out. "Not a chance." He tightened his grip on me and said, "If you behave like a wild person, young lady, I'm going to treat you like one." "Good evening," the parking attendant said as we passed the ticket booth. Good evening," Nick said. "Good evening," Nick said in a booming voice, as if we were the friendliest woman-taunting person on the planet. "Are we almost to the car?" I asked, staring down at his... Nope. "I can see her," he said. "So put me down, I'll be good." "I think that's impossible for you," he said, but then a minute later, he set me down beside his truck. "Thank you," I said, pushing back my hair and straightening my shirt. "For the ride to the car. It's actually what I wanted when I stole your keys. Walking is for suckers." Nick's entire face changed into a smile as he slowly shook his head as he looked down at me. "I like knowing you, Emily Hornby." I swallowed, and the thought again as he grinned down at me that he wasn't going to remember any of this. He was going to wake up tomorrow and not know me again. I hated so much that I felt a pinch behind my eyes, but managed to sound casual when I said, "Same, Nick Stark. I had the best day with you today." His face grew serious, but he didn't say anything. The moment just hung there, strung in between both of our gazes. His eyes roamed over my cheeks and forehead and chin, and it occurred to me that the two of us were seeing that moment in entirely different ways. I was just really hopeful that he would remember it all the next day, and he was mesmerizing every moment to look back upon fondly, because the D.O.N.C. for him meant forgetting today once the sun came up tomorrow. "Ready to go home?" he asked, his voice quiet and a little gruff. I nodded, incapable of speaking through the disappointment. Wake up!" My eyes fluttered open, and there was Nick, smiling at me as I awoke from the nap I apparently just taken while my head was resting on his shoulder. That face. Damn, he looked sweet and amused and nice, and I really wanted to go back to sleep. Forever. He said, "We're at your dad's house." I looked through the windshield, a little disoriented, and was relieved when I realized he'd parked by the back of my house instead of the driveway. "Oh, yeah. Please don't let me be drooling." I sat up and reached for the door handle, a little sleep-drunk from the smell of Nick and the warmth of his truck. I stepped out, and he was right there beside me in the cold darkness. "You sure you want to sneak in?" he said, walking beside me after I closed the door and headed for the back of the house where my window was. "Seems risky." "It's not." I opened the gate and went to the backyard. The moon was high and bright as our feet crouched over the snow, and I was a little surprised he was coming with me and not waiting in the warm truck. My room is in the basement, so my dad and Lisa sleep 2 floors above me, and he snored like a freight train. "Spoken like a criminal," he said, and my laugh made a cloud in front of my face. I unlocked the basement door and pushed it open, and I could feel Nick's warmth as he followed me inside. He didn't say anything as I opened the door for my bedroom, but as soon as I closed it behind us, we felt a little safe from getting caught. He full-on grinned in the dark. Thank God for the bright moonlight shining through the window, and whispered, "You are a sociopath." I followed his gaze to my bookshelves, which were color-coded without a single book out of place, and I had to admit that my room looked a little sterile. Even without the lights on, I just shrugged and smiled as I opened my nightstand drawer and grabbed the keys. "Is that?" He pointed to my closet and his eyebrows raised. "The closet where the infamous confession fox lives?" Something about the fact that he remembered made my heart flutter. I felt like Nick saw all of me, and that caused a warm pinch in my chest. I nodded, giving him an embarrassed smile, and then I said, "Want to see?" "Stop trying to get me play 5 minutes in the closet with you," he whispered, his eyes playful. "And, of course, I want to see." I opened the door, flipped on the light, and pointed. He stepped inside the walk-in closet, and I went behind him. My mind immediately raced to the intimate place as I quietly closed the door. We were so alone together in the quiet of my basement bedroom closet. Thankfully, before I could overthink it too much and die of a heart attack, he gave me an open-mouthed grin of surprise and said, "Wow, your closet's color-coded too. Are you a deviant?" "No, I just like to know where everything is, and the system makes it simple," he whispered. "I might be a little afraid of you right now." "Then maybe we shouldn't pull out the confession box." "Please, show me." He crisscrossed his hand over his chest and said, "I'll be good." A quiet giggle escaped as I reached behind him for the shoebox. He poked me in the ribs as I stood to my tippy toes. I was so ticklish, and I nearly fell on top of him as I grabbed it. I heard his deep, quiet chuckle in my ear. He was so close, and it occurred to me that my closet was a really nice place to be, especially when he said into my neck, "Your perfume is making me dizzy. Swear to God, we need to hurry." That made me breathless as I spun around and held out the box. This is it. He narrowed his eyes. Just a shoebox? Really? I pictured something much more interesting. It's undercover, hiding in plain sight and all that. He took the box in one hand and set the other hand on the lid. Can I rolled my eyes and nodded, nervous to let someone see all those past vulnerabilities, but confident that Nick was safe to share it with. He opened it and picked up a paper strip, read the words, then raised his eyes to me. You threw potatoes in your neighbor's pool? They were out of town and I was bored. I wanted to see if I could make it into their pool from our deck. And he was looking at me like I was about to confess murder. And I did. Chucked 15 spuns in a row. He grinned, his grin returned with a vengeance. Did you get caught? No one ever even suspected me. He reached into the box and grabbed another strip. He immediately started cracking up when he read it, and I had to shush him as I laughed too, and waited to see what he'd read. He was still laughing as he asked, You have a performance video on YouTube with 100,000 views? I nodded and bit my lip, trying to quiet my giggles. I was in 7th grade at the time. It's not under my name, and I was wearing a disguise, so you'll never find it. But you'll show me, right? Maybe someday. I shrugged, trying to be light and flirty, but the awareness of his impending amnesia about all of this almost made it impossible. I said, You have to earn that privilege. Is that right? The way he said it, his voice quiet and his eyes hot, made me breathing difficult. I just nodded. At least tell me what song. He put the strip back in the box and asked around a smile. What song did the little bookworm deviant sing? I cleared my throat and before whispering, Lose Yourself by Eminem. He didn't even blink. You're joking. I raised my chin to meet his gaze, which made him smirk and shake his head. We went through a few more confessions, but I had to stop when Nick cracked up upon learning how I used my dad's credit card to send flowers to Justin Bieber's hotel room, and we were afraid of waking up my dad. And just as I was tucking away the box, we heard footsteps upstairs, and we both froze, waited. Whoever was up there seemed to be pacing or walking in circles, and finally after a few minutes later, I whispered, Let's just go. You sure? He whispered back. I shrugged, remembering it was the DONC. There had been times that day when I had been all focused on the day of no consequences, yet other times I'd forgotten about it entirely. But the bottom line was tomorrow wouldn't count, so tonight was all I had. Tonight was my everything. He grabbed my hand and we made it out of the house undetected. By the time I got to Grandma's Max's, I was glad I stopped for the key because the lights were all off like she had already been asleep. Nick looked down at me under his yellow glow of the porch light as I stuck my keys in the lock. He opened his mouth and got out, well, before I covered it with my hand for the second time that day. He was never going to remember this, and I was going to tell him how I felt. I love you, Nick Stark. I blinked fast and was surprised on how emotional I felt. My throat was tight as I said, It won't count tomorrow, and it'll be like I never said it. But on this Valentine's Day, I fell in love with you. His jaw clenched, flexing and unflexing, and I watched his throat move as he swallowed. I whispered, But only for today, I promise. Tomorrow it's all gone. He looked at me like he was frustrated and confused and also completely into me in spite of himself, and I felt the gravitational pull of him leaning closer. And then he looked down at his watch and pressed a button. Come on, he said, grabbing my hand and leading me off the porch. He was nearly running as he pulled over the dark side of my grandma's house, where there had been no porch or street light shining. His feet crunching in the snow, he walked toward me until my back hit against the cold ceiling of the house. We were face to face. With a shaky breath, I said, What are you doing? There's only 7 more minutes. I felt dizzy as he looked at me, though with the most intense gaze. So? His body leaned into mine as he cut my cheeks and breathed against my lips. You only love me for 7 more minutes. I raised my hand and set them on his jawline. He lowered his face, and I whispered, Let's make it a good 7 then. He couldn't know that tomorrow none of this wouldn't happen, but he kissed me like we had 7 minutes before the world ended. I felt his fingers on my back against my skin. They slipped into my sweater. This was the next dark. Those were his confident hands, and my heart was absolutely his at that moment. His heart was pounding under my fingers, and our bodies strained against each other. And then in the blink of an eye, it changed. Our kiss didn't get slower, but it suddenly felt deeper. Or maybe it was just me, because I was hyper aware of how this moment would disappear in the morning. But things became very rich, every movement meaningful and infused with emotion. Nick kept kissing me lightly, but his eyes opened. I felt lightheaded as we watched each other. His blue eyes made me feel dizzy with their intensity. His hands were still on my back, but his fingertips were slowly, softly stroking along my spine. He lifted his mouth the tiniest amount and whispered my name against his lips, and then, damn it, he stepped back and his hands fell to his sides. It took me a second to hear the beeping and understand. Our 7 minutes were over. The DONC was done. He scrubbed his hands over his cheeks, looked down at my face like he was disoriented, and said, Christ, I don't want this hornbeat. What? I swallowed and I shook my head. Oh, I know, it was nothing. Emily! My grandma's voice rang out from the front yard. Are you out here? Your keys are in the door and there's a truck in my driveway. I'm calling the cops if I don't hear you. I'm here, Grandma, I yelled. Nick and I put even more space between ourselves and straightened our clothes. Listen, Nick, come on before your grandmother calls the cops, he said, cutting me off. He grabbed my hand, leading me around the front yard. I followed, still processing what had happened, and when we reached the porch, my grandma looked a little ferocious, and she scowled at us. Grandma, this is Nick Stark, I said, hoping my lips weren't swollen from the kissing. Nick, this is my Grandma Max. Nice to meet you, he said. Please get off my porch, she replied. He nodded and smiled like he appreciated her bluntness before he walked to his truck and drove away. I just stood there watching as my mind replayed every little thing we'd done on that incredible day. I'm going to kill you in the morning, dear, my grandma said, opening the door and stepping inside. But I need some sleep first. I stayed on the porch, wishing the night would never end. I love you. Good night, Grandma. Good night, you too, you little pain. It wasn't until I was inside and set off my shoes that I realized I was still wearing Nick's jacket. Oh my gosh, you guys! Ah! Ooh, that's a little, wow, okay, wow. Ooh, guys, that was a roller coaster of emotions. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. And guys, I am reading 17. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I think she gets out of the loop. Oh my gosh, you guys. Oh my god, I am so happy for her. Oh my god. Oh, that was the sweetest thing I have ever read in my entire life. That was the sweetest thing ever. And no one can change my mind. Oh my god. You guys, I'm actually gonna cry because that was really heartwarming. And everything had just built up into that. And then Confession 17, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I really do think she gets out of it. And, oh my god. You guys, I am so happy for our girl. Oh my god, and we are on page 174 out of 229, you guys. 30, not even 30, like, actually, let's do the math. I have a calculator. Let's do the math, you guys. Let's see how many pages we have left. I don't want to do the mental math. I'm sure y'all can. Okay, we have 55 pages left. Are you joking? Are you joking? You guys. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I'm in awe. I am in shock. That is, oh my god. Anyways, y'all don't need to hear my reaction because I want to read chapter. Oh. Wait. Let's read Confession 17, guys. It's literally like 3 pages. Okay. Confession 17. I went through a phase in 6th grade where I wore the same t-shirt every day just to see if anyone noticed. They didn't, so I gave up after 16 days in a row. Wake up, Emily! My dad's voice woke me up with a start. My heart was pounding as I squinted into the bright light and tried to see him. He was standing beside the bed with his hands on his hips, looking furious. I said, "What time is it?" "That's a great question, Em." His voice screamed, "It's 1:15 in the morning." "What?" I sat up, pushed my hair out of my face, and grabbed my glasses from the nightstand. "What's wrong?" "What's wrong?" His face was beet red, and his voice got even louder. "What's wrong is that my daughter never came home last night. What's wrong is that you ignored my text and stayed out without telling me where you were. We called all of your friends, and we were about to call the damn police because we thought you might be dead." "Wait, 1:15? It's not Valentine's Day anymore," he huffed. "Did you not hear me say it's 1:15? Get your stuff, let's go, now." "Thomas, you need to settle down." "No, I don't, Mom. She didn't come home last night and I was worried sick." My dad literally spat the words at my grandma, his voice louder than I had ever heard it. "I should have known she'd be here." "Or in the basement closet, under your feet in the house with Nick Stark." "Oh, now that's helpful." My grandma crossed her arms over her chest. "I assumed you knew where she was. The poor thing always comes here, but she's invisible to you in Bath. Spare me." My dad turned back to me. "Get your stuff and get dressed now." Excuse me. I scrambled out of bed and grabbed my stuff and ran into the bathroom. I closed the door behind me and quietly dug my phone in my bag. "Where's my car?" my dad yelled through the door. "Out on the street where it can get dinged, I'm assuming." Not exactly." I set down the phone, opened the door, and wished there was a way to make this seem less bad. I nodded my lips and looked at my grandma when I said, "I got pulled over for speeding, and they impounded the car. I've got the information about how to get it." "They impounded the car?" Okay, now that was the loudest I've ever heard his voice. And he stacked his hands on top of his head and stared at me as if I just confessed murder. "How fast were you going?" I swallowed. Go change, Emily." My grandma stepped between me and my dad and stared at me with huge eyes. "Now." I closed the door and let out our bathrooms, but my grandma argued with my dad and led him down the stairs. I took my phone off the counter and my hands shook as I powered it on for the calendar confirmation because, was it actually the 15th? I could feel my heart beating on my neck as the apple lit up my phone just before I saw the home screen. Holy moly. It was February 15th. I quickly changed out my pajama pants that I kept at my grandma's and pulled out the leather pants from the day before, absolutely freaking out as reality hit me square in the face. Flashes of things I had done the day before started rushing over me, sitting on the porch, telling off Lally, Lauren, and Nicole, breaking up with Josh via intercom, quitting my job, tagging the aforementioned people when I posted a picture of my tattoo to social media. I was going to be sick. Then I glanced at my arm. Oh no. No. I pulled back the bed and gasped. I had a marvelous time ruining everything. Dear God, I had that tattoo that said that. Oh my God, I looked in the mirror and stared down at my face. What have I done? Okay, so 16 and 17. Oh my goodness, you guys. They are the cutest thing ever. And she finally got out of the time loop, and oh my gosh, you guys, it's wild. It is wild. Literally, it's wild. But I should go, you guys. Low-key, I should go. But I can't believe how far our girl has become, and I have never been more happy from a little heart, it was like the sweetest, most genuine thing ever. And yeah. Anyways, I hope everybody has an amazing week, an amazing day, an amazing month, an amazing year, etc. And I will see you guys next time with another episode. Hopefully a little bit more, I guess, organized, because I sometimes don't know if I'm gonna do another chapter or not until I scroll and see how many pages the other chapter is. But yeah. Bye guys.